I have kind of this thesis that's been very impactful for my life, fundamentally shifted. It all came from a book called The Brass Check, which I read in 2016. And I kind of built this model of the world in my head, especially in the United States, specifically around media and propaganda and around the monetization models of media.
Mm.
And to me, it really does seem like if we're going to have our sense making apparatus, our cultural cohesion, our cultural narrative dictated by a third party that gets a yay or nay, what gets published, especially in the United States, that's bad. That's going to have bad outcomes. And we should build a new business model of media. Reading your books, listening to Tokyo Vice, it's crazy because how intense Japan's shame culture is and how intense it's like that's almost not even a factor from what I can tell. That getting rid of advertising that would like fund the Yomiuri might not have any impact in changing the ability for truth to hit the pages more.
I mean, Japan's press freedom ranking has sunk from 11 when the Democratic Party of Japan did it to about like 70. Because the liberal Democratic Party, especially under Shinzo Abe, who everyone knows I'm not a fan of, rest in peace, Abe, really decimated the media and got them to work against each other.
Mm.
But, there's still, even more than the United States, I feel like there are parts of the media here that are fearless, that will tackle stories that no one else would touch. Bunshun being one of them. And even cheap tabloids like Flash magazine, which, like Flash, like the camera flash. Sometimes we'll do great stories. The problem with Japanese media in the days that weekly magazines were really exposing big stories is young people aren't reading weekly magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And so magazines like Weekly Gendai, which used to have hardcover investigative journalism, maybe they still have it, but most of the issues voted like erectile dysfunction, like, can you, how to still get it up, old man, or like, what should I do with my like life savings before I die so that my kids don't, can inherit it? I mean, that's the bulk of their articles now. And I'm like, oh, okay, we've reached geriatric Japan day. So those are those issues. In the United States, ProPublica and the Center for Public Integrity are a nice model of how we could have journalism that is objective and good work outside of regular advertising. But that still depends on, the kindness of strangers, like people who are willing to donate, institutes that are willing to donate to fund public journalism. I guess it's the term, public journalism. And I think those are great things. But the consolidation of media in the United States means that, we get the same story repackaged 1,000 different ways, except instead of having 3 or 4 different sources, we only got one source.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak. And again, like I don't think we're going to beat Facebook with Patreon. It's not going to be a subscription-based model that brings us out of this. I've been playing around with a lot of different models that I think are pretty fun, trying to kind of gamify or get people engaged in the content. I think live streaming will be a huge game changer for how we decide to monetize media. How would you go for it?
I hope that we find some kind of business model. I mean, the Daily Beast has gone through a lot of editorial staff changes recently, and I've been writing them for years. And I'm like, is there a place for world news at the new Daily Beast? Don't know. Maybe I need to find a new outlet. I mean, I can write for anybody I want. I have an affection for the Daily Beast because I'm writing for them for many years. But I realized, like, okay, somebody's decided that it has to be profitable. And I don't think it's ever been really profitable. And that means the focus changes to something else.
100%. Yeah. Bro, I would love for you to have a Substack, though. Like, I would subscribe to that in a minute.
Really? I mean, I subscribe to White Knight Substack. I subscribe to Robert Whiting's Substack because he's like the GOAT of, true crime and everything Japan. I'm not so much interested in his writing on baseball as I am interested in his writing on politics and the underworld. But, he's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. And again, I don't think that's going to beat Facebook, but if you need a new home, like I think you would crush it there. And you could just do a podcast tour, get 10,000 paying subs and have a very nice salary and just write whatever you want with no editor. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
How does Substack work? I mean, do you do podcasts on there as well?
You can do podcasts on it as well. Yeah, for sure. But I was just saying go on podcast to promote it, to build it. And then, but no, you can do podcasts on Substack too.
Maybe I'll do a Twitter poll. Hey, should I do a Substack? Would you subscribe?
I mean, you only need, again, if you have 10,000 people at $12 a month, that's 7 figures. So you only need 8,500 actually at $12 a month for 7 figures. So yeah,
When you put it that way, Substack sounds really attractive.
sounds pretty nice, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to go capture the
Eh,
audiences. Also, you have a joke about you figured it out, right?
oh, what is
The
the sound
sound
of one
of
from
yeah,
clapping?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's getting slapped across the face.
Yes, yeah.
The funniest joke in Zen Buddhism.
Yeah, I loved that. That was perfect. There's something I've never really understood about Japan. It's very highlighted in like for anybody who has never had an experience with Japan in in Tokyo Vice and in both the books and the show, where it's like I don't understand how the Yakuza can exist in public. There's like fanzines. There's like all this
Oh,
stuff
would you
going
like
on,
to
and
see a
yet
fanzine?
I would
Hold
love
on.
to see a fanzine actually.
I got 22 years of these things, man.
No way.
Yep. Gonna have to turn on the light here.
Dude, a comic book could be a cool little small project too to get some funds for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is from 2015.
Oh, that's sick.
So this is Tsukasa Shinobu, who is the head of the Yamaguchi-gumi, the sixth generation leader. The
Okay.
Yamaguchi-gumi, right, has been around since 1915. That's a long time. There's a picture of him and the vice chairman of Japan's Olympic Committee, which I got a hold of and then published in Vice, upsetting many, many people because it clearly shows there's a link to the Olympics and the Yakuza. And the Japanese media reluctantly followed it up. The mainstream media didn't touch it. And then a politician brought it up in a session of the Diet, and then they all had to talk about it. Because once it's a matter of like public record, you can't hide from the story. So that was always one of my favorite scoops, which I think I devote a chapter to in Tokyo Noir.
Nice.
Anyway, so on the cover, this is 2015. There's it's announcement of the personnel changes. Here are the new people rising up in power. A whole bunch of people at the top have been arrested. Oh no. Then there's an article on about businesses that are exploiting the poor and poverty and these kind of new trends in fraud. Then
The
there's an
Yakuza wrote an
article.
article on people exploiting businesses. Oh
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
businesses
yeah.
exploiting. Yeah.
There is an article critical of the fact that there are a whole bunch of Yakuza and underworld people creating businesses that prey on poor people.